Mr. Chairperson, that some of our colleagues who don't believe in these human rights.
There's a point of order. Honorable Fube, Mr. Fube.
My point of order is directed to the Member of Parliament on the floor. According to Article 60, Standing Order number 65, is in order to insinuate that people were being shot in cold blood during the day without bringing facts, because this is the House of Facts.
Order. Honorable Member, Mr. Msanje, you didn't mention specifically which people were attacked in cold blood. Because your speech, you have to be factual and precise to avoid misleading the people and misleading yourself. Order.
Mr. Chairperson, on the day we lost a public prosecutor, Mr. Nsama Nsama, our honorable member here, Frank Tayari, was pointed a gun. He was threatened that he was going to be shot dead. It was at 12 hours, Mr. Chairperson. It was at 12 hours during the day. So Mr. Tayari here is evidence of those who were almost being killed. And Nsama Nsama was killed. Mapes Chiburo was shot dead. Joe Kaunda was shot dead. Those are many, many names. I can go on. We even had a student who was tear-gassed in her room while sleeping. Shimuzira. She was sleeping in her room at Unza in October, Mr. Chairperson, and she was tear-gassed to death. This is the only child of the family. So how can we allow such nonsense? Mr. Chairperson. So, Mr. Chairperson, we are here to debate.
Order, members. What Mr. Msanje is laying on the table, these are in public domain. These are order. These are proven circumstances beyond reasonable doubt. Order. May the honorable member continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Head number 34, the Human Rights Commission, Mr. Chairperson, has got a very clear mandate to advocate and investigate any human rights and other abuses. As such, Mr. Chairperson, I seek to add in a particular area, Mr. Chairperson, the area of budget improvement that has been improved.
As the time is 16:40 hours, I suspend business for 20 minutes for a health break.
Well, you are still watching Parliament Television, and still under consideration is Head 34, Human Rights Commission, and Mr. Joseph Musanje, Member of Parliament for Mbarala, was adding his voice to this head that is under consideration. And still yet to come, we still have Ministry of Information, Head 26, and Head 35, Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises Development.
And so for this and other details will be coming in later on. For now, we go on break. Remember, business resumes at 17 hours. Keep watching Parliament Television.
My name is Engineer Jonathan Daka. I'm 46 years old, of course married with the 4 beautiful children, all boys. I went to Chipata for my entire primary school, even secondary school. Thereafter, I went to the University of Zambia in 1995, where I graduated with a Bachelor's of Engineering in Civil Engineering in 2002, after staying there for an extended time of 7 years. That's my basic qualification. I'm an engineer by profession. My constituency is located on the southeast part of Zambia, bordering with Mozambique. This constituency is a rural constituency with the 20 wards, and this constituency being a border constituency, you know, this is a constituency which actually houses the Chanida border, which is the shortest border to the sea coast for the country. Therefore, the much of the, and it's proud of its imports of fuel, because about 70% of the fuel that we use as a country actually passes through this very important border. And this constituency, as I've already said, is a rural constituency whose major economic activities is farming, just like most rural constituencies. But for Chadiza, is a food basket for Eastern Province. It's proud of a lot of crops that our farmers grow in Chadiza, ranging from maize, groundnuts, and even cash crops like cotton and tobacco. Just like any other rural constituency, Chadiza faces a lot of challenges. This constituency is one of the most backwards constituency, as it lacks most of the basic infrastructure. Chadiza basically is one of the poorest constituencies. So all the basic structure, the basic infrastructure is lacking in Chadiza, and even poverty levels are very high.
My name is Kalalwe Andrew Mokosa. Of course, I am member of parliament for Chinsali, and I am 38 years of age. I'm 38 years old. I did my primary school in Chinsali. I did my secondary school as well in Chinsali. I can tell you that in grade 9 in Chinsali, I was the best pupil in the district. Even at grade 12, I got the best results in Chinsali. From there, I went to do my tertiary education. I got a certificate in business accounting. Then I got an advanced diploma in management accounting, and I got what they call a Chartered Institute of Management Accountancy certification. That is CIMA, because it comes from the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. I also did a Bachelor of Arts in Applied Accounting. That is a degree in accounting, Bachelor of Honors and Arts in Accounting. Then after I did those programs I've mentioned, I pursued my Master of Business Administration in International Business. Then I have also done my Masters of Arts in Economics, though I am still waiting for the dissertation to be marked. That I've done that Masters of Arts in Economics with Copperbelt University. My Masters of Business Administration is with University of Greenwich. It's in England. Then my degree in accounting is with Athlone Institute of Technology, which is in Ireland. Currently, I am a student with the University of Zambia. I am pursuing my doctorate of philosophy, that is my PhD in business and accounting, and I'm expecting to finish, God willing, in the next 6 months, because I'm working on my dissertation. I am a married person. You know, when I finished my tertiary studies, I worked for National Breweries PLC. I was responsible for treasury management. That was when I was the age of 22. Then after I left the brewery, I also worked for First Alliance Bank, where I was given a responsibility of managing the Department of Compliance and risk duties. So that is my work experience. After that, I established my own company where I was working, and I joined public service as a member of parliament. My constituency is a very big constituency. It is in the northern part of Zambia, specifically in Muchinga province. So my constituency, Chinsali, is a provincial headquarter for Muchinga province. It is a very big constituency. That's why we have been thinking of having it delimited. If you remember, a few years ago, we were pushing for delimitation. It even reached a point where the government declared part of the district as a sub-boma, that is Chilinda sub-boma. We have even built an administration office block as well as the house for the sub-boma administration officer, though the operation of the sub-boma has not taken effect yet. So it is a big district, because it's the only constituency now in Chinsali district. It is a big constituency in a big district. So we have about 17 wards. At first we had 15, so we added 2. We have 17 wards. What we are looking forward to is to have it delimited when the constitution is amended to have more constituencies. Chinsali has a lot of challenges. The road network is very bad in Chinsali, the whole Chinsali. That's why farmers, they have challenges in transporting their output from their farming fields or the areas where they live to the boma or to access markets. So that's why most of them, they just sell the maize to FRA. Even if it means that the price of FRA is bad, they have no option. In rare cases, you find that briefcase buyers go to the farmers where they live. Now the danger with that is that they take those briefcase buyers, they take advantages of our hardworking farmers. So the roads are bad. Number 2, what I talked about, we need an economic activity that should be supported or initiated by the government, be it IDC or Ministry of Commerce, to help the people of Chinsali. Because if you have something that is big that is happening in the district, then it is going to create employment, and there will be people that will be working there. The money that they will be earning, they will be using that money to go and buy in the shops in Chinsali, and as a result, the economy of the district is going to be activated. We have Paul Mushindo University that has not been completed. That is also one challenge that the people of Chinsali require the attention of government. Because remember, I'm just from talking about an economic activity. So that university, when it is opened, at least we are going to have, students coming from different parts of the country. They will be coming to learn in Chinsali, and those people, when they have money, they will be spending it in Chinsali. So they will be buying vegetables, tomatoes, and other horticultural crops from the small-scale farmers in Chinsali. At least we will have improved the economic activity of Chinsali. The other problem that we have had in the past is health infrastructure. At least we now have the big hospital that we have built along Nambuluma Road or near Tazama there. That one, it is helping the region, not just Chinsali, it is helping almost everybody from Muchinga province. But we have these rural health facilities that are supposed to help the people in the respective areas where people live, especially services relating to primary health care. So far we have built a few clinics. We have built one in Chilunda, we have built one in Cheswa, we have built one in Mwalule, and there's one that has been built in between Kasanta and Kalisha. Okay, We have also built one in Nashinga. That one in Nashinga has not been operationalized. Despite having built these rural health clinics, we still need more, and we plan to build one at Fonko Fonko. We plan to build one at Kampemba, among other areas. We do not want to have maternal related deaths as a result of not having health facilities nearby. We do not want people to be traveling 20-30 kilometers to go and access health care and health attention. No, we don't want that. So those are some of the challenges. The other challenge that we've been facing, the state of infrastructure in the education sector. We have areas where the quality of the classroom blocks is so bad. That is one area where we need to do more, and we are going to do it. I'm very confident we're going to do it, especially if this increase in CDF will continue. This increase in CDF that we have now, we are going to make sure that we build more classroom blocks, because already, as we speak, in this CDF for 2022, we have identified over 10 classroom blocks that we are going to construct. So those are some of the challenges. The other challenge that the people of Chinsali face, it is lack of employment, high levels of unemployment, especially among the youths. That is the reason why you heard me talk about having an economic activity to spur the economic development of the district. If we have where people can work, then it can be easy. We have so many that have finished grade 12. Others have finished college and university studies, but they can't find employment. So that is human resource that we are putting to waste. Because if all those are subjected to participate in production, then we can increase productivity, not just for Chinsali. We can increase productivity for the country. My developmental agenda, as I indicated to you earlier, is to ensure that we first of all have proper road network, because where there's proper road network, everything becomes easier. Be it farmers, they will have access to market. Be it potential farmers, they will have access to land where they can go and farm, because some areas people fail to go and farm there due to bad state of the roads. That is number one. We want to improve the road network. We have started with the township roads, which we have worked on. We have done part of it. We haven't finished. The contractor is still on site. We are also working on the Chinsali to Isoka road, which is forming part of the contract that is also going to take care of the road that comes from Nambuluma going to Chinsali Boma. So the first item on our developmental agenda for Chinsali is improving the road network in Chinsali. Secondly, we want to make sure that in most areas where people live, there should be a clinic nearby, because we don't want people to move long distances before they can access health care. The third issue, it's in the education sector. We want to make sure that where possible, we have proper classroom blocks where school-going children can learn. We don't want our children to be learning under the tree. We don't want that. We also don't want our children to be sitting on the floor. My desire is to have a Chinsali where all the schools have desks where school-going pupils can sit. Number 4 on the development agenda, we have to find a way of creating employment. I will constantly engage government to help us with an economic activity that can help create employment to our people. Yes, we do appreciate the efforts that are being made by the government to employ nurses and teachers. But look, the government cannot manage to employ everyone. The government needs to be supported by the private sector. So, if the private sector participates in the employment in employing people, then we are going to have more people be employed. And if we have an economic activity that has been initiated by the government, even the private sector will be activated to employ the Chinsali locals. Let me give you an example. If, for example, the government initiates an investment in the timber plantation through Zafico, or they initiate a project to grow and cultivate sisal, what is going to happen is that there will be other industries that support these core industries, and those supporting industries or supporting enterprises, they are going to create employment, and as a result there will be people that will be employed at the timber plantation or the sisal plantation. Then now those suppliers that are working with the timber plantation or the sisal plantation will also be employing people. So that is the other area where we have to make sure that our development agenda encompasses that item. My word to the people of Chinsali is that there is nothing that beats working together. We need to work together, and our people need to support us in the activities that we are undertaking. My office remains open to all the Chinsalians, regardless of what part of Chinsali the person comes from. My office is very open to all of them, because my office is an office of a person who is a servant of the people of Chinsali. I am here to work for you, the people of Chinsali. So if you have issues, don't fear that office, that maybe we are going to be chased or we are not going to find the MP. You have the power and the responsibility to call me every time you have an issue. Don't be afraid that maybe we are not going to find the MP. Even if you find that I am not there, please, there are always people that are there in the office, so you can bring your issues, so that some of the issues that you bring may be very important, such that they need to be brought to Parliament. And if you do not bring the issues forth, if you don't bring them forward to my office, then it is very difficult that your voice can be heard. I'm here to speak for you in Parliament and to present your issues to the government. So let us work together, and I'm wishing you God's blessings. God bless you all.
Thank you very much for still staying with us on the Parliament Television. Business of the House will resume shortly. And we have a look at what has been discussed on the floor of the House so far.
The House has so far considered one question for oral answer under Standing Order 76. The House has also considered two bills, and under consideration is Head 34 Human Rights Commission.
Yes, and just before the break, the House was considering Head 34, which is Human Rights Commission, and on the floor of the House was Mbabala Member of Parliament Joseph Munsanje adding his voice to the head that is under consideration. And still to come, We still have Head 26, Ministry of Information and Media, and Head 35, Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises Development Development. Just now we cross over to the floor of the House for live proceedings
When
of the
business
House.
was suspended, the Committee of Supply was considering Head 34, Human Rights Commission, and the Honorable Member for Mbabala was debating. May the Honorable Member continue.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairperson. When the business was suspended, I was contributing on Head 34, the Human Rights Commission, and I was commending the budget increase to the Human Rights Commission by the new Dawn government that has demonstrated the willingness to apply and enforce the rule of law and the rights of our citizens through an increase from last year to 21 million and this year to 32 million. Mr. Chairperson.
There are 2 points of orders. I think these point of orders, I'll now suspend them because we've got serious business to consider. We've got heads that have got timeline that we have to consider. So going forward, I think we'll suspend them to ensure that we transact this business in record time. May the Honorable Member continue debating. Honorable Member for Chiengi, you are granted. Let's hear you.
Much obliged. Thank you so much. I stand on a point of order which is for the members of parliament privileges and powers.
Which standing orders has been breached?
Well, I cannot really quote it.
Okay. May you take your
Okay,
seat? May you take your seat, Honorable Member?
A member of parliament was taking a video of me in the house. And it's just wrong, Mr. Chair.
I gave you an opportunity to cite the standing order that was breached. So may you take your seat. The Honorable Member continue debating.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was commending the new Dawn government on the wonderful work being done on increasing the budget for the Human Rights Commission. I mentioned that from 21 million to 32 million. This is an excellent increase in the budget allocation to the work of the Human Rights Commission in the area of rule of law and ensuring that the rights of our citizens are guaranteed. Mr. Chairperson, I wanted to bring to the attention of the Human Rights Commission and indeed your office the need for value addition in the work of the Human Rights Commission to tackle rights of persons with disabilities and ensure that we have paralegal desks in our constituencies with a lot of information, education, and communication materials that help us ensure that the rights of persons with disabilities are protected in line with the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Mr. Chairperson, we will have the periodic review, which is a reporting period to the UN, which both the UN CRPD will report on and the Convention on the Rights of the Child will report on. Just the other day on Sunday, we had the UN Day for Children, and as Parliamentary Caucus on Children, we were very elated that His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema dedicated his whole day to that event, and well done, Honorable Doreen Mwamba, for the good job in commemorating that event at the very highest level in this country. Those are the human rights we are talking about because we heard from the children and what they want to be done. And it is those kind of things which the children were demanding for that we want to see the Human Rights Commission also attend to, because children also need to enjoy their rights as children. We need to see that our children have the right to play, they have their developmental rights, they have got also their citizenship rights, registration, birth registration, and the like. These are issues. So when we were seeing, for example, the national registration process being denied in certain areas, those are the human rights we are talking about. You know, now, under the new Dawn government, it's happening everywhere. So we commend the new Dawn government for these things which they are doing, including the pilots and the like. So that is the way it should be. We have other rights issues. For example, in my constituency, we've got Muyanda Bridge, which is cut off 450 children from attending school. And these children are now going through a traditional ladder, and the villagers asking for a rail line for them to put there so that the children could cross. These are some of the developmental human rights we would like to see value addition being attended to. The Mangunza Kachenje stream or river, where we had a woman deliver, because women still have to struggle to pass there. We want to ensure that the women's rights are protected through ensuring quality bridges in these areas like I've mentioned in Mangunza Kachenje. We want to see, Mr. Chairperson, these rights restored, including sexual reproductive health rights, so that we can see comprehensive sexuality education being taught in all our schools and ensuring that our children have got the right information for the right decision making in their areas as they make their sexual decision rights. Mr. Chairperson, I was talking, I think, earlier about the rights of citizens that has basically changed under the new dawn, because now we've got the freedom of association, freedom of assembly, and we thank the cabinet and indeed all the service units that have continued to exhibit professionalism. And it would be good for the Human Rights Commission to continue now to start showcasing these good virtues that are coming out, that are being demonstrated by the various institutions of governance that are at play. Nowadays, we are being blamed that how come all these criminals who are going in jail, they are coming out the next day. It's because we have restored the rule of law, Mr. Chairperson. They are able to get good police bonds or a bail the next day. And this is the way it should be. And that's what His Excellency has been preaching, and it's happening. So we cannot have somebody debate in the other way when these things are happening, Mr. Chairperson. When we have clear evidence, Mr. Chairperson, of all the people who were killed at the hands of the brutal regime that the citizens threw away. Mr. Chairperson, I thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Kapyanga.
I'm delighted, Mr. Chairperson, that you have given me this opportunity to address you on this very important head, which is the Human Rights Commission. The Human Rights Commission is established in accordance with Chapter 48 of the laws of our land. One of its core functions under Section 9, Mr. Chairperson, is to investigate human rights violations. But Mr. Chairperson, many are the times that the Human Rights Commission has been a champion of press statements that have no basis. They do not go on the ground, investigate violations, neither do they visit the detention centers to go and check how many suspects have been detained beyond the required 48 hours. Just a few weeks ago, Mr. Chairperson, we had a 78-year-old on the Copper Belt in Ndola in particular, detained for more than 12 days. Her rights were highly violated, and no statement was issued by the Human Rights Commission. This is a commission that has been allocated under this budget 32.8 million kwacha, the money that can be used to buy medicines in hospitals in Mpika, Michael Chirushasata Hospital, Chilonga, Mukungule. This money will be used by the Human Rights Commission, a commission that does not protect the rights of most citizens, more especially the vulnerable. Mr. Chairperson, we have lost the life of a comrade, a brother to men, and a father to his children, Jackson Kungo. The Human Rights Commission up to date has not issued any statement to that brutal killing of Jackson Kungo. Mr. Chairperson, in the recent past, we have seen political
Order.
Mr. Chairperson, you ruled that points of orders are not going to continue.
No, but you can't. Honorable member, the purpose of a presiding officer is to regulate business. As you are seated there, you don't have a right to tell me how I regulate it. If I know the utterances are going out of this world and someone has risen on a point of order, I'll grant it. So, there's a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm rising on Article 65 of the Standing Orders, wherein it is stated that whatever you state on the floor of this House must be factual. Mr. Chairman, is he not aware that the people who were accused of having killed Mr. Kungo, his colleague as he alleges, were tried by a court of competent jurisdiction and they were convicted and they are serving? Is in order to blame the human rights over a matter that was in court and was concluded judiciously in accordance with the laws of Zambia? Is in order to start blaming an institution that is innocent?
The honorable member was out of order to blame the human rights on an issue that is evident that it was concluded in the courts of law. May the honorable member continue.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I talked about the silence of the Human Rights Commission on the matter as not in reference to how they were arrested and prosecuted. Mr. Chairperson, right now, as I speak, millions and millions of Zambians are having their rights to quality health being denied because our hospitals do not have medicines, drugs, Mr. Chairperson. You go to UTH today, you are not going to find reagents for your case to be attended to at the laboratory. Your right will be denied, and the Human Rights Commission will remain seated without investigating these human rights violations. Mr. Chairperson, farmers across the nation are having their rights violated by not giving them farming inputs. The Human Rights Commission is quiet and seated. Mr. Chairperson, I also cite the case of political elements that are being detained beyond the stipulated by law 48 hours, even when His Excellency the President has stated time and again that no one should be detained beyond 48 hours. The police sometimes continue to detain, more especially politicians, beyond 48 hours without giving them bond.
Order. Honorable member, avoid making assumptions that you cannot immediately substantiate. Issues to do with detention, that people are being detained beyond the prescribed time frame, just to make assertions. I think let's avoid debating in that order. Let's be factual, and we still remain relevant in our discourse. May you continue.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairperson. I appreciate your guidance. Mr. Chairperson, we are talking about a very important aspect of our people's lives. Those in Mpika have the right to access drugs in hospitals. Those in Nabwari have the right to have a good road from Mpika to Nabwari. Those in Mokungule have the right to have fertilizer. These are the facts that I'm stating. And these are the things that they are being denied. There is no harm, Mr. Speaker, that I shouldn't state these things. Mr. Chairperson, The Human Rights Commission must be given powers to prosecute. They cannot just be given powers to investigate and issue some report that will just end in the dustbin. They need to be given powers to prosecute those violating human rights. We are talking about a very important aspect of people's lives. Mr. Chairperson, I was talking about the human rights of our people. There should be a time when those in government should assume more rights than those that are in opposition. There shouldn't be such a time. A few days ago, one of the politicians who was on the copper belt was denied his right to have a meal at a restaurant. The police stopped him from having a meal at a restaurant in Kalulushi. They equally stopped him from having a meeting in Mufurira. His rights of association were infringed upon. Mr. Chairperson, let me also state the fact that as we allocate this 32.8 million to the Human Rights Commission, they should have offices in all the districts so that our people can access them and report human rights violations. Let them also use part of these monies we are allocating in, to publicize their existence and their work. My people in Katongo Kapala, in Kasenga, very few know about the existence of the Human Rights Commission and its work. But years and years it has continued to gobble millions of kwacha that can be used for very important, for other important things such as buying medicines, drugs in our hospitals, which currently we do not have as a nation. The Human Rights Commission also should not just wait for social media to post some human rights violations, then they respond by way of a press statement. Mr. Speaker, I support this allocation with a condition that they change and become a human rights commission that we all desire to see. Thank you.
Order. Mr. Chilangwa will be followed by the Honorable Justice Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I would like to support this particular head with a very, very heavy heart, extremely heavy heart. Mr. Chairman, I hope colleagues at the Human Rights Commission watch Parliament, and they watch Parliament religiously. Human rights are not just out there. There are human rights as well here. How many times has the Human Rights Commission engaged our colleagues on the right, including our owner, the Vice President, on the manner that they treat us here on the left? Mr. Chairman, I want to be honest. Those of us from the Patriotic Front are treated worse than what Mandela treated the white Boers who were doing apartheid. And the human rights are busy clapping and smiling.
Mr. Chilangwa, order. You have to desist from debating your colleagues. You are a veteran. You know that we don't debate ourselves. So putting every member in the context of your debate is not allowed.
I agree with you totally. But this particular issue, Mr. Chairman, is about human rights.
So
I agree with you, sir. I agree, all guided. And I agree with you. That's why you're a good speaker. And I support you. You're a good man. And because you are guiding me so well, I applaud you. The rights of members of parliament must also be looked upon by the Human Rights Commission. We are becoming vulnerable. Look at him. Look at him, Mr. Chairman. The truth of the matter is, your members of parliament, Human Rights Commission, must be treated equally and fairly. And it's your responsibility, because through human rights, democracy can be upheld. People can be supported. People can be helped. Mr. Chairman, I agree with the Honorable Munsanje. I'm not debating him. He spoke about persons with disabilities. And when it suits certain individuals to be champions of persons with disabilities, they go to great length, even have pictures, meaningless pictures. I agree totally with Honorable Munsanje. Lo and behold, the same people, if you look around this house, it will give you the complexion. It will give you the issues of heart at heart. Human Rights Commission, your duty is not just come here and ask us to give you money that you can use for programs that you like. Whether you like Nixon Chilangwa, you don't like him, the fact is that he has got human rights. You must be protected. 2 weeks ago, a senior member of that organization called UPND went to after they allegedly won Mwense, they said the next step is Kawamba Central. Did human rights even think about that? What are they talking about? Do you guys from human rights know that there's a conspiracy?
Order, withdraw your word, guys.
Or your colleagues. These conspiracies will not work. They may work for 1 day, they will not work for 2 days or beyond that. You look so pleased with yourselves as I speak these things. These conspiracies will work today, but they will not work forever. Madam Vice President, I'm telling you the truth. Human rights is about what people are being fed on. Human rights is about how you are treating every single person here. The biggest problem when we talk about human rights, even in one-termers want to be champions of human rights. I can tell you for free here today, those who speak loudly, one-termers, you are not coming back. I'm here today, Mr. Chairman, to say protection of human rights must have no political inclinations, must have no political color, must have no religious color. Human rights must be human rights. The way the president of Kenya is handling the affairs of his country, the way President Mandela handled the affairs of his country after apartheid. If President Mandela had no regard for human rights, there would have been bloodshed. So I'm here to tell you, if people do not have fertilizer, please provide. It's a human right. It's under SDGs. If people have no access to quality health, it's under the SDGs. Provide. You know, that's why we even have people who organize agricultural shows. They want to say it's an expo. You can't go and organize an agricultural show for the people of Western Province and you call it an expo. Learn to ask. You are showing people pumpkins, maize. Is that what an expo is about? And you want to sit there and shout. That's a human right. Learn to ask about these things. Madam Chair, Mr. Chairman, it is for that particular reasons, if you go to Malcolm X in one of this position, he spoke about the house nigger and he spoke about the field nigger. The field nigger, I go to Malcolm X, would even want to die for his master who was not interested. He would even go to an extent where he would say, our house is on fire. Lo and behold, he was just a servant. And under human rights, we've got colleagues coming to the floor of this house who talks about our IMF, the mentality that he spoke about, Malcolm X. How can IMF be your IMF? That's a human rights issue. You must check yourself with what is yours and what is not yours. Mr. Chairperson, time has come for us to stand up like Mandela, like Ruto is doing in Kenya, for the sake of the human rights of our people. Our IMF, like the nigger said there to say, our house. It's not your house. It belongs to the master. That is the mentality of inadequacy in the appreciation of human rights. So by human rights, we shall give you the money, but stand up to the challenge of being what you should be. Mr. Chairman, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister and her Honor, the Vice President, to wind up debate.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for giving me this opportunity to address this Honorable House on this very important head under consideration. Mr. Chairman.
Order, order. Order. If you've got a lot to talk about, I think there's always outside you can go.
If I may continue, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, there has been varied and unfortunately highly misinformed debate on the subject matter of the Human Rights Commission. Indeed, Mr. Chairman, what some of the honorable members that have spoken before me forget is that it is a right of the people of Zambia to be properly represented by informed members of parliament. And it is a disservice and a misinformation to the people of Zambia for us as representatives to come before the floor of the House and misinform the people.
Honorable Member for Chiengi, I don't know what is the problem today. If you continue, I'll send you out because it's getting out of hand. Your ranting is disturbing the business of the House. May the Honorable Minister continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Coming from a misinformed position is a violation of the very human rights of the people of Zambia that we are here to protect. Even as we want to be dramatic when we are on the floor of the House and draw attention, we have a responsibility, Mr. Speaker, to not misinform the people. Mr. Speaker, to start, the mandate, the vision and mission of Human Rights Commission, so as to reverse some of the misinformation that has been put on the floor of the House, is as follows. And I might wish to add here that if some of the honorable members had taken time to just simply go to the Human Rights Commission website, they would have got some of this information. Maybe as they step out of the House, they will take that opportunity to go and inform themselves. Mr. Speaker, the mission of the Human Rights Commission is to promote and protect human rights for all people in Zambia through investigation of human rights violations, rehabilitation of victims of human rights abuses, education of communities, and advocacy for policy and legal changes influenced by evidence-based research. Not these matters that some of the honorable members were talking about. One needs to understand, first of all, the rights contained in Part 3, the Bill of Rights, and what is capable of being protected under the mandate of the Human Rights Commission. The honorable members who suggested that some of the economic rights that they spoke of, the right to fertilizer, and so on and so forth, are justiciable rights currently under our Bill of Rights, obviously do not fully appreciate the role of the Human Rights Commission. And so they cannot put the Commission on a pedestal in the manner that they sought to do by accusing them of not executing functions which are not under their current mandate with the current laws of the Republic. So let's inform the people of Zambia rather than inflating their thought processes and making them believe as their representatives that in fact the Human Rights Commission ought to be taking certain steps when not. Mr. Speaker, I'll repeat, we do not come to this floor in order to posture. We must have a responsibility towards the people that we were selected to represent. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, any member of this House that fully believes in the mandate that we have been given would be ashamed to take certain steps that mislead the people of Zambia. Mr. Speaker, it was alleged that the Human Rights Commission does not make statements or issue reports. Again, it's a simple matter of going to the website and informing oneself. As a matter of fact, the Human Rights Commission has currently a report on its prisons visit that was undertaken, part of its mandate, and yet the floor of the House and the people of Zambia at large were being misled that there is no such report. I could read it. It's very long and interesting. They go further to do a child justice report, and further, prisons report for Eastern, Western, Northern, and Muchinga provinces. Child correction facilities reports, I could list them. Let us not mislead the people of Zambia in the interests of trying to make ourselves seem politically relevant, when in fact not. Mr. Speaker, the Human Rights Commission has, against all odds, executed its mandate diligently. We are well aware of reports that they issued in the face of adversity, where extrajudicial killing had become the order of the day in Zambia. Talk about Nsamansama, talk about Joseph Kaunda, talk about individuals that were killed extrajudiciously, and reports were issued to that effect.
Order. There's a point of order.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairperson. Mr. Chairperson, I've been sitting here trying to listen to the Honorable Minister of Justice, who is at the center of justice. And he's got every right to respond on behalf of the executive. He's assisting the Honor the Vice President to respond. But, sir, you have guided that we should first of all not defend ourselves. And you have also guided that the matters that are being raised, I heard the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security rising on a point of order when the Honorable Member of Parliament was trying to talk about one gentleman called Mr. Kungo who was killed in Eastern Province. You guided the Honorable Minister, and I'm raising this point of order pursuant to Standing Order 65, is very much aware that some of the issues he's raising here are before the courts of law. The issue for Nsamansama is trying to talk about as Minister of Justice is a matter active in court. Is he in order, as Minister of Justice, Mr. Speaker, to bring issues that are actively before the courts of law, as Minister of Justice? We understand that is now appearing in the courts, but he must also understand that as Minister of Justice, is the Minister of Justice for the whole country. As State Council, is also a representative of all of us, and must be, when he stands there, he must stand as a national figure. Is in order to start bringing matters that are before the courts of law in his debate. I think it's a serious ruling, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Member. As the Minister, you are debating, take into account what Honorable Kampyongo has raised.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. I think if the honorable member had allowed to assimilate the direction of my debate, the point is very simple, that the Human Rights Commission issued a report on extrajudicial killings with regard to those two individuals. I'm not going into the substance of the cases which are before court. That is what becomes sub judice, not mentioning that a report was issued. Please understand that. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. The point, Mr. Chairperson, as I conclude and wind up my debate on the issue, is that the Human Rights Commission continues and has done a lot of work, a lot of stellar work in very difficult conditions. Therefore, the amount that is proposed in the current head we are debating is not only a very important allocation, contrary to some of the suggestions that perhaps it should be diverted to medicines and so on and so forth, but it also should be increased progressively going forward after this current budget, so as to allow this commission to continue doing the key work that it does, to put checks and balances for us, the executive, who hold the power of arrest and other matters to do with human rights, and to point out where there have been any flaws. That is their duty, to provide those checks and balances. And we as the New Dawn government are alive to that and would want to create an even better environment for them to operate in. That is our promise and our mandate as the executive arm of government. And we shall do so, especially that they perform a very key role. So, as I wind up my debate, speaking to the Human Rights Commission, from this particular platform, I would like to say, keep up the good work. This government will support you. This Minister of Justice will support you. This Vice President will definitely support you. I thank you.
Thank you. Her Honor, wind up debate.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. And I would like to thank the honorable members that have debated on this matter. And let me adopt the words of the Minister of Justice, most of it as my own. I think that we sometimes confuse ourselves in the House. Listening, there were many good points that have been raised, but some of them, Mr. Chairperson, were not even easy for me to note, because you really wonder where people are coming from. And my observation, Mr. Chairman, in this House is that we will not be taken seriously as a House if in our debate we want to come and do politics on the floor without giving evidence of what we are talking about. And after you have spoken and said things and you walk out, you are not ready to listen. What is the purpose of the executive standing and responding to matters raised? If members that debate just come, raise dust, and they run away. That is an observation that I think it is not working well. It's not working well, honorable members, with the public, the people who have sent us here. They want you to hear. I think that really, I won't go so much into the detail, because I've seen, like people have talked about, of course, Ms. Katuta is something else I can't understand, debating a commission and debating a commission and an individual in their individual capacity. It will not work. We don't debate individuals, particularly those who are not here to defend themselves. It's not correct. The debate that was put up, talking about two individuals having different views, is not correct. You better face those people out there, not here. We are debating the commission, the work of the commission, because even as members of parliament, we are individuals out there. So we are debating the commission. And if you have an issue with a commissioner, you don't come and bring it on the floor of the House. It is not correct. And I've heard people debate here one thing very clearly from both sides, Mr. Chairperson, where people have said the commission must be given the power to prosecute as well. But people are speaking, the same people are talking like the human rights must be prosecuting. You take note that they don't have that power to prosecute, but you say they are doing nothing on this. What are you talking about? These laws come from here. Yes, established through the Constitution, but the act is from here. If you think the act is inappropriate, don't blame the institution and you make them act beyond their mandate. That is not correct. That's what we are doing here. In the human rights, even under the part, it used to be part 3, I don't know what it is. When you look at the human rights, the Bill of Rights, we have not domesticated the social, we have not domesticated the economic, social, and cultural rights. You are bringing them also for the human rights to work on. That is not within their mandate. You even mislead people and you say, fertilizer is a human right. How many people are not on fertilizer program? If it's a right, it becomes selective. This is why we are failing as leaders of our country to tell people what their government is doing and may have been doing. This government is working even though the economic rights are not there. They are working progressively to work on the economic matters. Fertilizer, don't come here and say people have paid. Why should you mislead people? People have simply subscribed to be members. The 6 bags they are getting, including the seed, maize, and another legume, cannot be bought at 400. And yet you want to mislead people. Instead of appreciating that government is working to ensure that there is food security and also empower the people. Please don't mislead the Zambians. Fertilizer, you can't call it a human right. The neighbor who is not getting is also a human being and may be entitled to that right if you call it a right. Just because you want to be political, you want to bring all sorts of things. The minister has spoken about statements. You said they do nothing. And yet in my statement, I did indicate even some of the works that they did through this year to the end of the year. That included awareness, sensitization, issues of going around, visiting prisons according to their mandate to see the conditions. And they issue statements. Other than what the minister spoke about, they issue statements. For example, I'll tell you that on the 7th of September, just the examples, Mr. Chairman. On the 7th of September 2022, they called on human rights, called on the police to refrain from delay in charging suspects. Is that not a human right? And you say they are doing nothing. They are not working. They have even spoken about something that we can debate the whole day here, access to information. This is your Human Rights Commission, created by yourselves in here. They have even, you remember the ill treatment, which I stood on the floor of this house when some youths, honorable member for Mansa, somewhere were insulting, and some of us thought that was going over. But the human rights condemned the army officers. Yeah. And then you are calling them political? The army officers have become PF. If they condemned the army officers that were seen to abuse the youths who had done something which some of us think was wrong, you will say they are being political. So those army officers who were condemned were PF. Is that what you are saying? Please, let us be real here. Let us help our nation stabilize and once again be proper, one Zambia, one nation. Let us act properly. You don't come with a political agenda to derail an innocent organization. This country, Mr. Chairperson, has not domesticated economic, social, and cultural rights, but is working. Free education itself is part of the rights that they are progressively working on. Those that have worked to look at the Constitution, the review, the amendment, and all that has been done, this is what was agreed, that we cannot enshrine these rights. We have no capacity, and therefore let us implement them gradually, progressively, then we can put them in the Constitution. But as long as it is in your head, you want to come and speak here and say this is the right. Drugs. Yes, we want health, but you cannot, it's not justiciable. There are things you cannot go to court about, and the human rights is limited to what they can talk about. They will talk about that, and they have talked about that. So please, as we debate, let us debate within the mandate. People say good governance, particularly the Honorable Mr. Fube talked about good governance. Surely can you today say there is no rule of law? What are you using, ma'am? What are you using to say there is no rule of law? We are committed to this. And natural justice is one of the things. That's why you are heard. You are not just, arrested and thrown in jail. You have your day in court. And we have said this, for example, the issues of corruption. Nobody is just being, grabbed and is put in jail. You go and you explain. That's part of natural justice. You go and give your side of what you do. Separation of powers. I don't know whether it is indeed Parliament which is going beyond their separation into the executive. I think that we have clear separation of powers. Speculation, imagination is not good enough for us. There is separation of powers. Clearly, we are here with our independence. Nobody has been mistreated for the statements they have made on the floor of this house. That is part of separation of powers. The judiciary is operating. That is part of separation of powers. The executive is also working. So, I think that we should not confuse people. The refusal or failure of the referendum is really something that was not clearly done at a wrong place. And it went on and it failed. So you can't blame anybody. It was put to the test on the ballot and it failed. That's the way it is. And that is part of democracy. When you talk democracy, that's what democracy means. Take to the people say no, raise your hands and say we go on. Let us find a solution. Mr. Kapianga, please, let us not say things that we ourselves are guilty of. Never. Please, this is a debate. You can't talk of rights in the manner that you are talking about. You don't. You don't. We should all remember that your rights end where mine begin. Have you respected my rights? Thank you.
Thank you. Head 34, Human Rights Commission, head total 32,754,027 kwacha. Any debate? Any objection? Mr. Kampyongo.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairperson. I draw the attention of one of the Vice President to page 394, Program 4140, Sub-Programs 002, Human Rights Advocacy. Your Honor, the Vice President, last year this expenditure line had a total of 2,320,790 kwacha. This year, the estimated allocation has reduced from last year's amount to 2,293,250 kwacha. And yet, in your policy statement, this is one of the key portfolio functions of the human rights. Why is this reduction, Your Honor, the Vice President? And is this money enough to help the human rights discharge their duties on this particular expenditure line? The last one is Program 003, Human Rights Violations Investigations. Again, in 2021, there was an amount of 7,387,824 kwacha, which reduced in your last year's budget to 5,838,000 kwacha, 37 ngwe. This year, you have just slightly increased, still less than what was allocated and approved in 2021 budget. This year, you are allocating to this line only 6,452,980 kwacha. Your Honor, these are the key functions of the Human Rights Commission. How do we expect them with this rising cost in terms of goods and services? I thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you. I hope I followed. This is the table. Just a minute. Okay. Human rights advocacy, is it the first one?
Yes, Your Honor. The first one is Human Rights Advocacy, Program 002.
Thank you. Yes, I think it is, they are very important. The issue is, Honorable, all these programs are extremely important, but it is the way the Commission has strategized. Remember that you have a strategic plan and how you want the progress to be made. So for this year, we have seen a decrease in the advocacy, in the allocation to the advocacy. And the reason is that this is due to less number of institutions targeted in 2023 in advocacy, which institutions. So the number has reduced for 2023, and that is the one which has brought them, the plan for their plan has reduced by the figure you are talking about, which is actually 27,540 by that 1%. Then the other one is on violations, human rights violations and the investigations. This also is indeed important, but the decrease is due to the increase. This one is not decreased, it's increased. That little is due to the increased activities arising from the establishment of 3 new offices in Imansa, Chinsali, and Solwezi. So they are going to establish 3 new offices. That is the increase of 614,000 kwacha, 943. It may not be enough, Honorable. It's never enough, but we have to continuously work on how we move. Probably it's my hope that when we move along the year, the supplementary could cover us. Thank you.
Ms. Nyirenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, for giving the chance to the people of Lundazi to ask the question to Her Honor the Vice President on this head. On page 394 and then table 4, which is talking about economic classification, I bring you to general operations, which is number 2. 2021, the Commission was given 2,634,048, and in 2022, the budget was 4,494,999, and now it has jumped almost 3 times to 12,726,036. Any justification for this leap? I submit.
Her Honor the Vice President.
I hope I thought the figures were a little different on 02. Okay. General operations, is it where you are? Okay. Under general operations, economic classification, you have said it has risen. Why has it risen? The reason is this has increased indeed, like you said, very highly, up to 183% from 2022. This is because the scaling up of human rights sensitization activities, which people have cried about here, reaching out to all the 10 provinces of Zambia. And also this increase is due to the rise in the cost of doing business. So they want to sensitize throughout the country. That is why there is this enormous jump, 183% increment. Thank you.
Again, you've indicated. Mr. Kampyongo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. This is a very critical moment, and at this juncture, we are permitted to make proposals. Your Honor, the Vice President, wouldn't you consider it prudent, since there is a significant increment on sub-program 001, under 4041. There's a significant increment there, where you have allocated 10,703,334 kwacha from last year's approved amount of 2.6 million. Wouldn't you consider, Madam, Your Honor, the Vice President, to share that huge increase to cater for these two key programs, especially the 600,000 you are saying to cater for 3 offices might not be enough. Wouldn't you consider at this juncture to just share this huge increment you have done on sub-program 001 to cater for the 2 programs so that at least they can have reasonable amounts? We have allowed us, the August House, to make those proposals. I thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you. I do understand the concern, and indeed, it is possible. But this is a program depending on the bias of what they want to do in 2023. I am sure, like I said, the strategic plan has different plans as to when they will move, when they will do certain things. So they have seen, the Commission sees sensitization as a very important thing. Particularly, look at the way we have handled the House, Mr. Chairperson, today, with a lot of misunderstanding of what the Commission is all about. So they have seen this as very important with this figure for them to do the work. And as they establish themselves, I think then they will be better understood rather than take criminal matters to the Commission. Thank you.
I put the question. The question is that head 34, Human Rights Commission, head total 32,754,027 kwacha stands part of the estimate. As many as of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary say no. I think the ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. Head 34, Human Rights Commission, head total 32,754,027 kwacha is ordered to stand part of the estimates. Now we move to head 26. Head 26, Ministry of Information and Media, General Policy Debate. The Honorable Minister of Information and Media.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to present the policy statement in support of the 2023 budget estimates for the Ministry of Information and Media. Mr. Chair, from the onset, I would like to categorically state that as a ministry, we are fully behind Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, the President of the Republic of Zambia's unwavering desire to have a free media. As members of this August House may recall, the President kept on emphasizing on a free media from the time that we were in opposition. In the speech for his inauguration as the 7th President of the Republic of Zambia, he said, and I quote, "It is a new dawn. The fourth estate, the media will be freed." End of quote. Whereas in his ceremonial opening speech of the first session of the 13th National Assembly, he said, and I quote, "A conducive governance environment is imperative for our country's political stability, security, economic growth, and sustainable development. It entails enhanced transparency, accountability, consultations, and dialogue. To achieve this, our administration will strengthen oversight and governance institutions, ensure the independence and autonomy of the judiciary, and guarantee a free press and active civil society. To further improve the governance environment, we will enhance media freedom and access to information by facilitating the establishment of a media self-regulatory framework and enacting legislation on access to information." End of quote. Mr. Chairman, the above-stated desire by the President is what gives my ministry the motivation to put in place measures to ensure that this desire in particular, and the country in general, to ensure that a free media is achieved. After all, the ministry's existence is based on the provision of information of public nature to the public, and therefore free media is an important catalyst in that regard. To that effect, Mr. Chairman, with Mr. Hakainde Hichilema as the President of the Republic of Zambia, I see a flourishing free press and media industry. Mr. Chairman, my ministry is mandated to facilitate the development of the media sector for a well-informed society, as well as effectively provide news and information through the Zambia News and Information Services and interpret government's policies. In that regard, the ministry has ensured that in its 2023 budget, sustainable amount of resources are allocated to the critical areas that would have a maximum impact on fulfilling its mandate. Mr. Chairman, through the 2023 budget, my ministry will continue to be guided by its existing policy framework, which are media development policy and government communication policy, with its requisite government communication strategy. No wonder an allocation has been made in the same 2023 budget for the ministry to review these two policies to realign to its 2023 aspiration in the medium term. In the same vein, the Ministry will in 2023 ensure that all the pieces of legislation whose absence has proved to be a stumbling block to the realization of its mandate will be finalized and enacted. These include the Topical Access to Information ATI Bill and the Zambia Media Council ZAMIC Bill. In addition, the Independent Broadcasting Authority IBA, Zambia National Broadcasting Corporation ZNBC, and Zambia Institute of Mass Communication ZAMCOM Educational Trust Acts will be reviewed to address the identified shortcomings in them that have been seen as a hindrance to the realization of the ministry's mandate. Mr. Chairman, permit me now to give a summary of the ministry's 2023 budget. In the 2023 budget, the Treasury has allocated 94,995,341 to the Ministry of Information and Media for the implementation of non-personal emoluments related programs. With this allocation, the ministry's focus in 2023 budget will be on the following priority areas. 1, media development standards and regulation. 2, information services and management. And 3, management and support services. Therefore, out of the above stated figure of the 94,995,341 allocated to the ministry by the Treasury, 46,321,861 has been allocated to media development standards and regulation with a view to growing the media industry through provision of appropriate interventions. This represents 48.8% of the total non-personal emolument allocation by the Treasury. In order to enhance media outreach and improve dissemination of government policies, programs, and projects to the public, information services and management has been allocated 17,476,948 to provide information services and management to all ministries, provinces, and spending agencies as they will be implementing their programs and projects in 2023. This represents 18.4% of the total non-personal emolument allocation by the Treasury. Mr. Chairman, for the departments that are at the center of the core mandate of the ministry to discharge their functions effectively and efficiently, there are departments and units that give them support. In the 2023 budget allocations, these have been allocated 31,196,532 through a budget line called Management and Support Services, which represents 32.8% of the total non-personal emolument allocation by the Treasury. From the above summary, this August House can clearly see that indeed we have dedicated more resources to areas that will maximize impact in fulfilling the ministry's mandate, as I pointed out earlier. Mr. Chairman, through the President's emphasis and interest to have a free press and media industry that I have already alluded to at the beginning of my address, I can confidently and proudly inform the August House that indeed the press and media industry is now enjoying their freedom, and that has been a lip service in the previous regime. This is just the beginning, as the industry is yet to see even further improvement in that regard based on what we have planned to implement through the 2023 budget and the 2023 budget to 2025 medium-term budget plan. Mr. Chairman, I therefore urge the members of this August House to support the 2023 budget estimates for my ministry, which is the Ministry of Information and Media. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Mr. Mpundu.
Chairperson, I wish to thank you for giving me an opportunity
to make a few comments on Head 26, which is the Ministry of Information and Media, which head has been allocated 123 million towards media development standards and regulations, information services and management, as well as management and support services. Chairperson, as I start to make a few comments regarding this particular subject at hand, I wish to put it that the Ministry of Information is a very critical ministry in as far as running of government is concerned, because this is a mouthpiece of government. And it is therefore important, and I want to place it to the minister, that the ministry and the minister herself must be proactive in continuously engaging the general public on what government is doing. Because failure to provide accurate information to the general public creates a void that is filled by people that may not have accurate information. Remember that when people act on information that is not accurate, things may go sour. Therefore, Honorable Minister, we want to encourage you to continue to engage the public. As I make this comment, Honorable Minister, I wish to urge you to maybe clear what the public seems to have as a misunderstanding. Because from what we know, Chairperson, is that the minister is the mouthpiece of government herself. She is the government spokesperson, chief government spokesperson. But there's been of late a confusion created by a particular position that you've created. I don't remember what the description of that position is, but we know the gentleman who holds the position is called the Office of the Filer. That particular position has created more or less a distortion of who should perform what function. Because what we hope to see is the minister giving the position of government. But we see another person giving what seems to be a position of government, and that must clearly be addressed, Honorable Minister. This is just advice because that is what is in public domain. And so it must be stated also that media freedom is very critical, and I want to, of course, note that you've mentioned that your government is committed to ensure that you give freedom to the media. And when we talk about media freedom, we perhaps wish to put to you that freedom is not absolute, or media freedom is not absolute. There must be regulation. And it is therefore important to note that you have allocated resources towards standardizing as well as regulating media. Now, a problem has arisen in the name of social media, which to a greater extent has not been regulated. Now, it is placed upon you, Minister, to find a way, working alongside with ZICTA, as well as the Zambia police, to see how you can regulate social media. Because from whatever way you look at it, social media is also, part of media. But you see that social media has brought so much problems for our people. People have been, insulted, people's characters have been destroyed, and these perpetrators of these crimes have gone without reprimand. And so I want to put it to you that as you allocate these resources, maybe some of these monies must go towards standardizing as well as regulating social media, because a lot of people have committed suicide because of vague and false information that has been thrown into the public using social media. So, Honorable Minister, you have got a lot of work. Now, management and support services. ZNBC has done very well, or rather government has done very well in improving the infrastructure of our public media houses. I think that everywhere we go now, we see the presence of beautiful structures that have been built. But more needs to be done. And Honorable Minister, you have a lot of work to censure our people, or to encourage our people to be innovative. The advent of social media has also brought another complexity towards the public medias. Because today, whenever a news item happens, social media reports. So the people that are sitting in houses, how do they then get encouraged to switch on ZNBC to watch the same news that they would have watched 10 hours ago. So there's every need that our colleagues who are managing these public media institutions must be so innovative to ensure that they create a space for current happenings so that they don't have to make us more or less read or view what has already been seen many hours. Now, in regards to content, Honorable Minister, I remember as a young person how much we got glued to our national televisions. In those days, there was so much innovation. We would watch Play Seko. On radio, we would listen to Ifyabukaya for us who are from Luapula. There was so much to go and listen or watch on our public media stations. Today, you have to debate as whether you have to waste your precious time to go and switch on your TV, your ZNBC TV station, or your ZNBC radio station, because there's now a lot of competition. The public media houses have brought so much, adventure in terms of content. So it's important, Honorable Minister, that you speak to our colleagues who are managing public media houses to go out and be innovative. By the way, I remember that IBA is responsible for regulating content. Now, most times, we have been subjected to very foreign content on both our television sets as well as our radio. But I do know, Honorable Minister, that IBA is mandated to ensure that they regulate what content is broadcasted, not only on public media houses, but also on private media houses. Because the benefit of increasing the content that is broadcasted on our media platform creates opportunities for our friends who can create content. Because when we grapple with issues of unemployment, we can create employment by ensuring that when we increase content, local content I mean, for our friends who can act, who can sing, and who can do all facets, they have somewhere to take their content and jobs can be created. So as we debate this particular head, Honorable Minister, we want to assure you that you have our support in ensuring that your work is made easier. But there is more to do by the people that are tasked to manage, particularly public media houses, because they remain the most accurate means of receiving accurate information. But they are being edged right here to ensure that they remain innovative so as to compete with what social media is bringing our way. Honorable Minister, I wish to thank you, and Honorable Chairperson, thank you so much for the platform.
Mr. Fube.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me this opportunity, which a lot of people don't know that I'm also a member of parliament, where they're representing people. Mr. Chair, I would like to start by acknowledging that the Ministry of Information is operating on a backdrop of a lot of radio stations and TV stations that were opened in the previous regime, where the space was created. Whatever the argument can be, if you go, I think the Minister of Information knows that the PF created a lot of space for radio as well as the TV, Anyway, I forgive you, you don't search. So, having said that, that space has also come with its own challenges. The challenges come in because of the practice of what I may call yellow journalism. This yellow journalism is associated with an ethical reporting in many cases. This may not just be the social media. Some of the media, as we may speak, as the country is polarized politically, the media is equally polarized. And that is the reality. So, when we look at the polarizing I'm talking about, I also have in mind, I want to bring to the fore the chapter 154, which houses the ZMB's Act, specifically section 33, that the minister has to do a bit of surgery on that particular Act, I think the last time I remember that some surgery was done is the inclusion of the TV levy. Why do I say so? I say this because when we talk about the ZNBC and many other public-owned media being the instruments to interpret government policy, government means parliament, government means judiciary, government means executive. And if that's the package of the three arms of government, it means that anything emanating from there should be finding itself in this channel. Again, I also have in mind that public media is the only responsible clearing house that we should have some time back. When we have heard about a rumor and we want to confirm that this rumor is true or not, we would rush to go and switch on to Radio 2, Radio 1 and the like to confirm that this is true and that be the case. The other fact I think has been tackled by my friend, which I wanted to look at, that of conflicting statements and the arrangement of personnel within the Ministry of Information. We have seen that we have all grown to believe that the Minister of Information is an official government spokesperson. You find that the confusion of that electorate that has been created is even, people may feel that it's playing a very important role. When that gentleman goes on radio or TV, he's only playing politics and away from government policy, and partisan politics for that matter. And I think that has to be looked into. Mr. Chairman, I want to bring to attention editorial policies that the Daily Mail, I know the Times of Zambia, and many others are championing to channel out the information to the people. We know that media in other places has brought a lot of confusion. And I've already referred to the issue of the confusion that especially public media can bring through your journalism. I have in mind, Mr. Chair, the focus on Cybercrime Act, which is just used possibly to victimize politicians. I think the issue of cybercrime has to come in so much in the media, especially online publications. You see that a lot of citizens, both being on the right and the left, are being abused every day by the online media. And most of the time, that can bring conflict. We know, for interest's sake, some of the conflicts that we have witnessed on the soil of Africa has come through the media, irresponsible reporting of the media. Mr. Chair, I want to address one factor that should go with the mainstream media, away from the issue of these online publications. I have in mind that we have got the government publishing, the one there which is at levy, and so forth. I think there's need that we have an interlink between ZICTA, and then we have an interlink between government printers and many others, because government printers is also a mouth and an outlet of information. We have different publications there. Even gazettes are published, if I'm not mistaken, by government printers and many others. There is need that when we are factoring in next time, for instance, we have given the IBA 23 million, and both in the 2022 budget and the 2023 budget. Government printers is still very key, because as far as I'm concerned, it's the one which even prints our constitutions and many other factors that benefit the what? And that is information. If we interlink the government printers with the mainstream media so that there is resonation of some sort, we find that our publics will be properly informed. With the growth of the media, I want to bring to attention that I've noticed that in the 2022 budget, there was an allocation of 23 million to the IBA. And in the 2023 budget, there's still allocation. I think there is 23 million 80,000 kwacha, if I'm not mistaken, that has been maintained and the same factor, the same amount has been maintained. The people of Tulu would like to really find out of, do we intend to grow, especially that IBA is more of a clearinghouse? I saw that the minister had publicized our minister had publicized the receiving of licenses from different interested stakeholders. Now, if the budget is static, meaning that I would like to believe that there is expansion in terms of activity in that particular line. We have maintained the same budget for 2022. We have also maintained the same budget line for 2023. So what comes to mind is an issue. Do we mean that the activities of the IBA will be limited to in some way so that there is no expansion, especially that when you bring in new applications, it means that they have got extra work. I think the people of Tulubi for now would like to rest their case on that particular point. And it's good that today there is not too much point of order. I don't know why. Thank
Mr. Mabenga.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving the people of Mwabezi an opportunity to add their voice to this budget line. First of all, we support the budget 100%. We would like to thank the Minister of Finance for increasing the budget from 59 million to 123 million, which is almost 100% increase. We thank you, Mr. Minister, for that. We would also like to thank the Minister for Information for expanding the studio to Solwezi and the Choma. We thank you for that, and we hope next time it will be Mwabezi also having the same studio there. We also need it in rural areas for the people to understand what the new deal government is doing. They need that information. Yeah, we need to support the media because these people, they have been working under different conditions. First of all, when I went around, we found that most of the stations, they didn't have transport. Now, since the budget has increased, we hope these people will be accorded an opportunity to have transport so that they can go around and they collect information. The journalists, they work under difficult conditions. They work the risks are very high. Where there's a gunshots, that's where they go, trying to find out what has happened so that they can report to the public. So there's a lot of risk by the journalists. So I pray that probably they'll be given transport this time. The other issue which I'd like to bring to you, Honourable Minister, is where we went, some of those offices, they don't have computers. So working environment is not very conducive. Some offices, they don't even have cameras. They are using cell phones as the camera to record information and also take pictures. So I hope from this increased budget, the cameras will be purchased from there. And also, the other thing that we saw was the furniture. Some offices, the furniture, they were completely dilapidated or broken down. So it was difficult for the journalists to actually operate. So we hope that furniture will also be bought. When you come to Zambia, ZNBC, would like to see also the visibility of ZNBC in the streets, like what used to be in those olden days. Now also they are handicapped by transport. Probably transport is not enough. So their visibility also is not easily seen. When we come to the office space, yes, offices are being built, but meanwhile, they're also constrained with the office space. So we appeal to the minister that something should be done with the office space. The IBA, they have been given a budget from 16 million to 23 million, which is very good. We would also like to see IBA move. Let them visit also some provinces, including Mwabezi itself. Since we are also going to have a radio station there, so also let them come and see the environment which is prevailing there. So Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to go much into so many things because most of them have been covered by the first previous speakers. So in short, Mr. Speaker, we support the budget 100%. Thank you.
Mr. Mtaya Chalo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, for according me this opportunity to debate Head 26. That's the Ministry of Information and Media. Mr. Chairperson, the media industry is very close to my heart because I've interacted with both the public and private media for more than 26 years now. Mr. Chairperson, I'm happy that there's been some improvement in terms of budget allocation to this particular ministry from 59 million kwacha in 2022 to 122 million. I think this is a step in the right direction. This ministry is very, very critical in the sense that it is tasked with the responsibility of disseminating information to the people of Zambia. As they say, information is power. So therefore, I think this ministry should be equal to the task and design strategies on how to promote the growth of the media industry in Zambia if our democracy has to continue to flourish. Mr. Chairperson, I think the mushrooming of the media industry in the last few years is a clear demonstration that Zambia's democracy is growing from strength to strength. And it is incumbent upon the New Dawn government that I think it must further elevate the media industry to a much higher level because this particular sector is very, very critical, especially now that we have enhanced the Constituency Development Fund. So there's need that the Ministry of Media and Information should be able to spread its tentacles to all remote, all rural areas so that our people are able to make informed decisions. I am alive to the fact that having associated with the media for the past 26 years, I'm alive to the fact that the media industry faces enormous challenges. That ranges from high operation costs, poor working conditions for our journalists, and also intimidation of journalists, especially when they are covering political meetings. And I think that should not be tolerated. And I want to appeal to the Minister of Information and Media that I think it is important that they must regularly have interaction with the media houses, both the public and private media, so that our media personnel can be, their conditions of service can be improved. Because most of the journalists, their conditions of service are very poor, and I know that there are some private media who do not even allow unionism, union activities in their places of work. So I think it is incumbent upon this ministry to ensure that media personnel belong to trade unions. Because where there are no trade unions, these journalists are at the mercy of the employers. So I want to see a person coming from the trade union movement. I want to see to it that most of these media houses actually have trade unions which are able to speak on behalf of their members. Further, we have been talking about the issue of access to information bill. I think this particular agenda has been on the drawing board for so many years, I think from the time of the MMD. And I want to appeal to the New Dawn government. I think it is important that the access to information bill must be enacted, because that is the only way which is going to help us actually to elevate the fight against corruption at a very high level, if at all our journalists could have access to information. In Zambia, unfortunately, it's a long time ago when we used to hear about investigative journalism. So I think it is important that once certain legislation enacted which favors the growth of the media industry in this country, I think we are able to see investigative journalism, especially in the fight against corruption. Mr. Chairperson, uh, I'm particularly concerned about the happenings at the Times of Zambia and other public media. I think the situation at Times of Zambia is very, very sad. And I think I want to appeal to this government, to this ministry. I think there must be a clear-cut policy on the future of Times of Zambia, because workers are in limbo. They don't know which direction this government is taking over the issue of the Times of Zambia. With those few remarks, I also want to thank the Minister of Information and Media that for the first time after many, many years, I think close to 30 years, Chama district did not have a Zanis office. And I'm happy that your ministry is going to open an office in Chama after we engaged you. I think I'm extremely very happy that very soon we're going to have a reporter there and a cameraman, so that the people of Chama also are able to have access. The outside world should be able to know what is happening in Chama. Chama is an area which is endowed with abundant natural resources, but its resources are not fully exploited because the outside world are not. They don't have much information about Chama. We lead in terms of rice production. We are one of the leading rice producers in this country. In terms of tourism, we were one of the best tourism destinations in this country. So for those few remarks, I say thank you and I support this head.
Mr. Mtinta.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving the people of Witwatersrand an opportunity to also support this important head number 26, the Minister of Information and Media. I could also want to put it on record, Mr. Chair, that the media is indeed an important sector of our nation. Indeed, it's a fourth state, and we cannot underestimate its importance in the political, social, and economical growth of this nation. Madam Speaker, the budget allocation, the increase from 59 million to 100 million plus, it's something which is recommendable, and it should be applauded by all well-meaning Zambians. Mr. Chairperson, I want to just touch on two main issues, which is the media development. And I'll be very specific on the conversation on the access to information bill. Just like the previous speaker did mention, Mr. Chair, this conversation has been in Zambia for over 2 decades now. And now in the new Dawn government, everyone is looking forward to the actualization of this important piece of legislation. And I'm very certain that this government will break the record and see to it that this bill that has been on the shelves for over 2 decades will now become law and be able to be appreciated by the Zambians who have been anxiously waiting to see the enactment of this important piece of legislation. Mr. Chairperson, this legislation is very key.
Order. As the time now is 1840 hours, I interrupt the proceedings and commit work stands adjourned. The Committee of Supply will report progress and ask leave to sit again. Madam Speaker, I have to report to the House that the Committee of Supply on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 1st January 2023 to 31st December 2023 has gone through head 34 and has made progress and has leave to sit again.
Day of resumption of committee work.
Tomorrow, Madam Speaker.
Committee work to resume tomorrow. The House is now adjourned.
Well, thank you very much for being with us on Parliament Television. Business of the day for today has been concluded. And before we end our broadcast, we just have a look at what has been discussed on the floor of the House today.
And so when business resumed at 14:30 hours, the House started by considering one question for oral answer under Standing Order 76. And so this question came from Chairman of the Member of Parliament, Mr. Yota Mutayachalo, and he posed the question to the Minister of Health whether the government is aware that the contract of the only medical doctor at the Chama District Hospital will expire later this year, and in B, if so, what immediate measures are being taken to deploy additional doctors to the institution, and in C, when the measures will be implemented.
And in response, the minister indicated that government is aware that the contract of the only medical doctor at Chama District Hospital expired on 1st January 2022, and he was given an extension up to 28th February 2023.
And in the minister's response to question B, she responded to say that government has taken the following measures. An additional 2 medical doctors were deployed to Chama District Hospital last month. One has already reported for work for duty, whilst the second doctor is expected to report within the shortest period of time, and as he was still being cleared in his former internship site. Another measure is that the contract of the medical doctor that is expected to expire on 28th February 2023 and is unlikely to be recommended for renewal on account of advanced age of 67 years, and as such, Chama District Hospital is expected to have 4 active doctors before the end of this year, 2022.
And so after the question for oral answer, there were 2 bills that were considered. The first bill was the National Pension Scheme Authority Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 21 of 2022, which was considered at second reading. And the committee stage will be taken tomorrow on Wednesday, 23rd November 2022.
The House also considered the Zambia Institute of Secretaries Bill, National Assembly Bill number 18 of 2022, which came at report stage. And so this bill was moved by the Minister of Education, and third reading will be taken tomorrow, 23rd November 2022.
Thereafter, the House resolved into committee, and the heads that have been considered today were Head 34 and Head 26. Head 34, the Human Rights Commission, and a number of members of Parliament debated this particular head. We had Mitete Member of Parliament, Mr. Mishek Mitelo, Herbert Mapani, Member of Parliament for Namwala, and given Katuta Chiengi, Member of Parliament.
And so the approved allocation for this particular head is 32,754,027 kwacha.
And the House then went on to debate Head 26, Ministry of Information and Media. And at the time the House was adjourning, the House was still considering Head 26, which is expected to continue being debated tomorrow. So this is what we had for you today as Parliament Television. And from all of us here, we wish you a lovely evening. And remember to join us again tomorrow.